Hello and welcome to the Wednesday Night Grumpy Sound Guy Show. I am your host, Mr. J.R. Everhart from CLP Audio and Staging, the Grumpster himself. So this week, well actually like the last 2 weeks, we've kind of been talking about bands, we've kind of been talking about the business side of things. This week is epic mistakes bands make in the reels and the shorts that we've been doing, the short form stuff. Next week we're going to talk about how your band can make money. Last week's Grumpy Sound Guy show, which you should really go back and watch, was talking about how to bid events as a production company. And from that video, I was asked like 5 or 6 times to revisit that idea, but from a band's perspective. You know, how can a band, quote festival stuff? How can a band quote their club level stuff? How can they get in a situation where they're making more money? We're going to touch on a bunch of the basics of that next week in the shorts. But I thought I would just go ahead and kind of give you a more in-depth look at that now. So if you follow my shorts and my reels or whatever, some of this stuff may be repeated, but I'm genuinely trying to give you different information tonight than what I will next week on the shorts. So I guess you should start the whole conversation out with you need to subscribe to this channel. You need to hit the subscription button and notification bell. You need to do all the things and support this content. A bunch of you guys, the channel's growing like crazy, but the channel is still, I'm at like, I don't know, over 50% of you guys still aren't subscribed to this. So could you please be so kind as to subscribe to the channel? So there, business aside. So let's dig into this. I would really start out a conversation like this with, and I do this with everybody, whether you're coming to me about, production and getting into the production field and, having your own gear and blah, 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 and all that kind of stuff and everything that goes into being who we are as a production company. I say the same thing to all those cats that I say to bands. What is your expectations? Let's just start there. What is your expectations for what your band is going to look like in the scene? If you're somebody who is just looking to be a weekend warrior and play out 2 or 3 times a month, well, then you're not really doing it for the money. You're doing it to have fun and to get up on stage in front of all your friends from the office and sing all your favorite songs. And you just kind of, there's really a lot of freedom there, to really just do whatever it is you want to do. As long as you're putting, a moderate amount of people in the club's probably going to bring you back once or twice a year, maybe 3 times a year or something. You'll never rank highly on their list of bands that they book because they're obviously going to book the bands that, sell the place out first, before they book, your local dad band with a bunch of guys in their middle to late 50s and early 60s that are just kind of, having fun with their friends and, that sort of thing. Look, guys, don't take this the wrong way. There's nothing wrong with that. If that's where you are, man, more power to you. I'm not mad at you. Go do your thing. Go play for, $300 or $400 a night as a band. And so, yeah, my point is have fun, and enjoy where you are. There's an enormous amount of freedom in being a band that's not imprisoned by the money. Because I know a lot of A-rated bands who have been doing this for 25 and 30 years, and some of those guys are just sick and tired of each other. They're miserable. Yeah, they're playing all the biggest events. They're making really good money and all that kind of stuff, but they can't stand to be in the same room with each other. Yeah, I myself cannot stomach that. I cannot, validate that in my life and feel like that I'm okay with that in any way, shape, or form. I just can't. If I'm going to play in a band, I want to have fun and I want to enjoy doing that with the people that I'm doing it with, and not be, bickering or having drama or everybody talking behind everybody else's back and, all that kind of stuff. It's a whole thing, that I do not want to entertain. But you know what? Some of them cats just look at it like, hey, it's a job. You know what I mean? It's a job. It is, just like any other job, you have days where you just don't want to be there. And, the one thing about the entertainment business is you don't have to like the guy standing next to you on stage to make a living. That's just a fact, you know. So adjust your expectations and really, start the conversation with just asking yourself who you want to be. Who you want to be as a band, who you want to be as, financially, and make some hard decisions about how often you're going to play out, whether you're going to be an independent band or whether you're going to be an agency band. If you're only going to play out a few times a month, I would say just stay as an independent band and beat the animal circuit and the local sports clubs and, stuff like that, maybe some of the breweries and that sort of thing. You'll probably do pretty well and get your music groove on just fine in those rooms than what you would in any other room, or, playing the big stuff. Let me tell you, man, being a guy who has played all the animal circuit rooms, who has done all the B rooms, getting into A rooms, I always was in this mentality where, man, if we can just get in this room, then we'll be it, If we can, get in this room and build a crowd or get in front of their crowd, because a lot of those A rooms have a built-in crowd, and, that will really blow us up and, get us the fan base that we need to really support us, in a full-time music kind of career. Well, man, I'm kind of here to tell you, you can be playing all those rooms and still fail at that miserably. You just can, you know what I mean? There's no guarantees that any of this is going to work out for you the way you think it's going to work out. In fact, most of the time, it doesn't work out the way you think it's going to work out. People are usually less excited about your band than you are. It's your band, dude. That's why you're excited about it, Getting people on board with that is a monumental task in a variety of ways, It's going to come down to playing the right set lists, working with the right agent, getting in the right rooms, doing it for a little of nothing for a few years so you get it up on your feet, and maybe even investing in it. Because something we're going to talk about next week in the shorts is, at some point you're going to have to hire production and hire a sound guy. I know bands right now that are A-list bands that started out as a solid B band, added a production company, like a legit production company, to what they did, and over the next 2 to 3 years blew up, to a band that was making $1,200, $1,500 a night to a band that was making $3,500 a night. That's the difference a production company can make. But that band also had to take it on the chin for that first year or two before that production value started to pay for itself, before the ROI, the return on investment, started to really show up and started to pay for itself. Because it is a sacrifice. I work for bands right now that have no business hiring my services because they really can't afford it when you look at what the band makes as a whole. But the reality of that is the guys in the band have really good paying day jobs. And when they go out to do this, they want to do it on the highest level. So, I have a great reputation for being that guy. So they call me, hey, JR, what's your price? No problem, we'll pay it. Come out and do the deal. And, those bands have grown exponentially because of that. And now, I'm going to say 3-4 years later, now they're a band where the band is now paying for me, to where before they were just kind of paying for it out of their pocket. You have to understand that investment if you want to be a band that wants to be a mover and a shaker in your local scene. If you're somebody who wants to play all the A rooms, wants to play all the A-list corporate events, all the A-list corporate venues, all the county fairs that are opening for national acts, all the day festivals, because that seems to be the trend these days. Is we could do a lot of like wine festivals, beer festivals, food truck festivals, all that stuff usually has at least 2 or 3 bands on the bill. And those promoters are starting to get smart in the sense of, instead of booking 10 bands and, 7 of those 10 bands not being very good bands, they're now booking 2 or 3 really good bands and having each one of those bands play 2 sets, and that fills out your day. Well, if you want to be on that list of bands that people like that call, these are all the things you need to think about and consider. Let's talk about agents for a second. Agents is a hot button subject. Agents is a situation where an agent is basically a salesman. He's somebody who is going to take what you do and sell it to the venues, to the concert promoters, to the festival promoters, and you have to give him the correct tools, for him to do his business. You do, which means an open calendar with at least 10 or 12 dates per month that you can give him and say, here's 10. Because the more you play out, the more money he makes. So if you're a band that wants to work with an agent just to get into your favorite rooms, but then you only want to give the guy, 2 or 3 dates a month, man, that's probably not going to work out because they can't make money off a band like you. They make money off of volume, okay? So each one of those agents usually have, anywhere between 15 and 20 bands up to, 50, 75 bands, depending on how big the agency is, and how well networked they are, how much staff they have on the payroll. And working with an agent can really get you where you want to go if you're giving the agent all the tools that they need to be successful with you. They want to make money, and the way they make money is by you making money. So the more successful you are, the more money they make, and it's a win-win situation for everybody. So how do you get there? What are the tools you give the agent? Calendar, like we just said. The other thing is play a set list people want to hear. Play the music people want to hear. Be a professional band who is kind, to the staff when you show up at a venue. You tip the wait staff, even if they're a little slow waiting on you. I know sometimes you realize that the reason why the wait staff doesn't wait on you is because most of the bands that come in there don't tip them. And they treat them like trash. They go in there with a big attitude and an ego and a chip on their shoulder, and they treat the wait staff like they're peons. Well, look, dude, this is their room. The room belongs to the wait staff. Like, they work this room, 7 days a week, and, you're just a visitor. So you need to understand that, yes, they are hosting you, but you are working for the club. You are no different than the wait staff to the owner, okay? You are just another tool by a means they can make money. So if a bar owner comes back and says, hey, man, he's talking to the agent now, and he's saying, hey, so XYZ band, did great. They seem like they're a good band. They're playing the right music, but they're a bunch of jerks. They treat my staff like trash. I used to work for a guy that would axe a band in a second if the band didn't treat the staff right. I've heard stories of casinos, like my local casino here used to give the band credits to go to their buffet that had like a full seafood spread, like crab legs and all that stuff and everything. Like, it was a real nice bump in the arm gesture from the casino to the bands. And what was happening was the bands were going down there with their free food vouchers, and they weren't tipping the waitresses. So, the casino finally said, well, if you're not going to tip the waitress, well, then you can just go to the cafeteria and eat cafeteria food where you can wait on yourself. Here they were giving each band member, $60, $70 food comp, and they couldn't even tip the waitress. I mean, it seems insane to me. It seems like things that should be so completely elementary. But, the more of a professional you are and the easier you are to work with, then the easier you're going to be for that agent to book, playing the music correctly and doing all the things that you should be doing that I shouldn't have to tell you, If you can't honestly videotape your band on Saturday night and the band get together on Monday afternoon or Tuesday afternoon at rehearsal and sit down and watch that video on your big screen in your living room and honestly critique yourself, honestly say, hey, yeah, that song's speeding up and slowing down, or hey, that backup harmony is a little flat, or hey, this chord in that bridge is not exactly right. If you can't be honest with yourself about those things and hone and keep chipping away at that rock that is your band to turn it into a beautiful sculpture, then you don't belong in these events. You don't belong in these venues. You don't belong, running an agent to his paces because you don't have the wherewithal to honestly critique yourself. I know bands that would invite people out. I've been invited out more times than I can count, especially in the winter months when I'm slow, to come and critique their band. Buy me dinner, drinks, the whole 9 yards. Of course, I don't drink alcohol, but you know what I'm saying? Like, roll the red carpet out for me, pay the cover charge, the whole 9 yards, get me in the room and have me sit there and listen to a set of their music because they want an honest critique. Sometimes we get, I always call it being nose blind, like when you're around a foul smelling thing all the time, your brain shuts off and you stop smelling that foul smelling thing. So when someone else comes, to visit or something, they smell it as soon as they walk in your house or whatever. Yeah, you kind of get nose blind to your own thing. Sometimes you need an outside perspective. Sound guys are great for that because sound guys, like I mix 180 shows a year. A lot of those shows are festivals where I have 3, 4, 5 bands on the bill. I see a lot of bands. Not to mention I'm a musician and have a track record of success in my own bands that I've been in. So we're the people that you could really bring. Agents, if you can get an agent out. Usually agents are so busy it's hard for them to visit the bands. I hear bands complain all the time, well, this agent's never even came and seen me. Okay, well, he doesn't need to, guys. The agent's going to get feedback from the sound guy because I guarantee you he's networked with the sound guy and the venue owner or even a bartender or somebody that works at that venue, especially if it's a venue that agency has been booking for decades. They know the staff, okay? They don't need to come out and see your band. They're going to know who your band is after 2 or 3 gigs by the feedback they get from the bar owners, from the concert promoters, from the festival promoters, when they rave about how good your band was, when they rave about the numbers you put up at the door and the audience that you drew and the way you conducted yourself, all that kind of stuff. Dude, all that matters when it comes to bidding the job. And agents can really lubricate that process. They can really help that. Now look, the whole agent thing is like anything else in this world. There's good agents and there's bad agents. There's honest agents and there's dishonest agents. I have yet to ever meet an agent that I didn't catch in a lie at some point or another, because it kind of goes with the territory when you're booking bands and you're trying to. It's like just part of sales. It's like a used car salesman. You know what I mean? Like, there's going to be little white lies sprinkled in there from time to time, He may have to fluff your band up a little more than what it really is to get someone's attention, to give your band the opportunity to get in their venue because they haven't heard from you. So he may have to, tell some lies to get you in the door because he's confident that your band is going to kill it in that venue. So don't freak out if you catch your agent in a lie, It just kind of... I know it's a backhanded thing, man, and it's uncomfortable, but it's just kind of the way the business works, If you get pissed off at your agent and go stomping out of his office and fire the guy, and that sort of thing, don't get mad when he has to tell the clients he was booking you at that you're no longer available, even though you feel like you're available because now you're independent. Well, from that agent's perspective, you're no longer part of their roster, so you're no longer available. You know what I mean? Like, you're just not available. What do you expect him to say to the client? Oh, these guys got mad and stormed out of my office? No, he's never going to bring that kind of drama to the table with a client. That's ridiculous. That's stupid. But what he's going to say is, this band is no longer available. If the bar owner is that hell-bent on booking you, he'll go chase you down and he'll find you and he'll get you however way he's got to get you with the next agent you get up with, or, with you independently. If the drummer's booking the band, whatever, guitar player, whatever, he will find you. But 99% of the time, once that agent says that you're no longer available, that communicates a variety of things to the bar owner and to the concert promoter. It communicates that, well, for whatever reason that they're not available, sounds like drama, and I trust this agent because he's funneling good bands to me regularly and we have a good working relationship. So I'm just going to take it as face value because I really don't have the time to unpack the drama that's involved in whatever happened there. And more often than not, that's kind of the way it plays out. So you need to think long and hard before you go firing your agent. And then the other thing is every agent has a rebook clause in their contract, which means that if agent A booked you in venue A and you played there for, a year, even if you only played there once and you're under contract with that agent, in that contract it says you cannot play that venue again independently for 18 to 24 months. So if you're rebooking back into that venue, like say you play there in January, fire your agent at the end of January, you contact the bar owner directly and he decides to book you directly, which rarely happens, but he decides to book you directly, say in late February, early March. Well, because you're going back to the venue that the agent got you into, guess what? You still owe that agent a rebook fee. You still owe that agent a book back fee. Because he's the one got you in the room. You know, you would have never gotten the room any other way, you know. So don't be surprised when that happens. And I know a whole bunch of people that walk out of the office, you know, after they just told their agent off because they're mad at them for whatever reason. And they think that that's the end of it. And it's really not. If you leave that agency, then you're walking away from all the venues that agency books, or you're going to pay that agent commission every time you play that venue, unless you wait out the 18 to 24 month no comp rebook, you know, period. Which that's a long time to not book a venue. You're going to lose all the momentum you had in that room, and there's a reason why it's set up that way, you know. It's to protect the agent because, you know, the agent makes his living by opening doors you cannot open. So that's the whole spiel on agents. Now, if you want to be an independent band and work your way up that same ladder, play those same agency rooms, you're going to have to surrender to the idea that some of those rooms you're never going to be able to get into because they're locked down by an agent or 2 or 3 different agents. Like the trend I see nowadays is a lot of venues pick the top 2 or 3 agents in their area, and that's where they're getting all their bands from. The bartender's buddy's band might play in there on a Sunday afternoon or something, or somebody might weasel their way in one way or another because they have a personal connection with the owner or something like that. Other than that, the rest of his calendar is going to be agency bands. So if you're going to be an independent band, you have to just surrender to that's just the way it's going to be, you know. But here's another avenue into those rooms. If you're making huge noise in all the B rooms, like you're selling out venue after venue after venue, you have managed to get into, you've networked your way into some of the day festivals, some of the local breweries, you know, some of the places that aren't necessarily locked down because of agents, then that creates noise in the scene. That creates noise that a bar owner may hear, or a bartender or his general manager may have seen you at the local park for a community concert series and was like, wow, these guys are insane. Like, they're great. And there was a big crowd there and blah, blah, blah. So he goes back and tells his bar owner, you know, hey, dude, you know, we need to get XYZ over here playing because they are, you know, the shiznit. You know what I'm saying? Like, they are a band that I think would do really well in this room. Well, then one of 2 things are going to happen in that scenario. Most likely, the bar owner is going to call his agent that he is most comfortable with working with, and he's going to say, hey, why don't you reach out to the XYZ band and see about getting them in here. My general manager or my bartender seen them at the city park this past week and just raved about how good they are. We'd like to give them a shot in our room. Well, at that stage of the game, the agent is going to respond one of 2 ways. Either there's something about you that is negative, and he's going to communicate that to the bar owner. Like, I'll give you an example. Like, oh yeah, man, we know all about those guys. We've actually maybe tried to, you know, work with them in the past, or we've considered working with them in the past, but, you know, the guy that runs the band is an asshole. You know, he's an egotistical prick who, you know, thinks that the world revolves around him, and he thinks his band's worth, you know, $4 grand a night, and, you know, the band's only been together a year and a half. So that's why we don't work with them. So if you want to book them, it's probably going to cost you more than you want to pay, especially for a new band that has no following in your room. I mean, maybe they'll put, you know, 75 or 100 of their people in there. If you want to pay that, I'll gladly, you know, book them for you. But they're problematic. You know, they're known for drug use, or they're known to drink a lot. You know, your bartender or your general manager probably thought they were great in the city park because they don't let them drink in the city park. They probably were really good. But what they're known for is by the 3rd set, they're so drunk they can't play their instruments. Dude, all that stuff gets around, and that can be coming from an agent that you've never personally talked to. But that agent is so plugged into the music scene, he knows who's successful and who's not, even if that band's not on his not in his stable of bands. You know what I mean? This business is so small, and the people who hold the keys to the kingdom dude, they know what's going on, and they probably know more about your band than what you realize. Now, the other way that conversation can go is the agent can tell the bar owner, hey, I've never even heard of these guys. I don't know who they are. Yeah, sure, let's check them out. I'll reach out to them, and yeah, man, I'd love to put them in your room, Sure, let's check it out. So then the agent picks up the phone and calls you, the band, and he's like, hey, look, so-and-so at Club A down the street here is interested in, one of his staff seen you guys at the city park, and he's interested in bringing you in and giving you guys a shot at playing his room. How much money is it going to take to get you? What are you guys? What is your set list? What's your stage plot input list? This is where you need to have a digital, promotional package together on your website, or at least on a social media thing. Because the first thing all those guys are going to do is go to your Facebook page and see how many people are following you. If you got 150 people following you, what that bartender or general manager told the bar owner is probably not going to go very far. Like, okay, yeah, maybe they're a great band, but they obviously have no following. But if they go to your Facebook profile and your social media stuff, and they see that you got 3,000-4,000 people following you, hey, dude, guess what? Now you got their attention. So now how you respond to that agent is going to dictate how this relationship is going to move forward. If you respond to that agent like, hey, man, yeah, we would absolutely love to play that room. We are typically an independent band. Just because it kind of works better for us. We understand that you're an agent that exclusively books that room. We have no problem working for you in that room. We'd be happy to look at a one-off contract that just covers us when we're in that room through you. We'll happily pay your booking commission because we'd like to be in that room. So, feel free to send us over a contract, and we'll look at it. And, hopefully we can all just move forward with this because we'd love to play the room. And the agent's probably going to give you some kind of conversation about the benefits of being exclusive with him. And, because if you're starting to make waves, agents are always looking for the new bands that are making waves, Because what happens a lot of time with the agency bands is the bands rise up, they're really good, they're established, but then they have a shelf life, And that shelf life can be 20 years. That shelf life can be 20 months, It just depends on how the band treats their audience, how well they do with the marketing stuff. How well networked they are, how easy they are to work with, all that kind of stuff. So agents are always looking for new, fresh, up-and-coming bands. Number one, they can groom them. They'll send guys like me out, to do production for them, and then come back and give the agent a critique. We'll give the band a critique, and help make the band better because we're all just trying to make money in this, I get that all the time with the agencies that I work with. Like, hey, dude, why don't you go mix this band for us this weekend? We want your opinion on what you think about these guys. So why don't you go take a look at these guys? I'll do it, and I'll report back with what I think and feel about the band, and it is what it is. That's why I always say, be very nice to your sound guy. So you can be very lucrative in this business as an independent band. You can be the highest paid band in all the B rooms. I know a band right now off the top of my head who basically that's all they used to be, an A band. They still can play on an A level, but they're aging. They're getting in their late 50s and 60s. And they're moving more toward the corporate stuff now, but most of the clubs they play are all B rooms. But they're the highest paid band in the B room circuit because they've been together for almost 25 years. That's kind of the way the business works. So you can be, and that guy has been adamant about not being exclusive to anybody since day one. And he's worked with almost every major booking agent in the Mid-Atlantic. But he has never been able to really capitalize on that the way he could have because he let his own control issues and his ego get in the way. And that goes back to what we were talking about just a minute ago. Like, these agents also talk to each other. Even if they're mortal enemies and stupid, crazy, competitive, at some point or another, they're going to have to co-book a band, that somebody wants and cross-pollinate between agencies. And they're going to have a conversation. And when they have those conversations, they typically ask each other questions about the bands and what bands are successful and what bands are working and what clubs are working. And, there's obviously a conflict of interest in revealing too much of those industry secrets in those conversations, but they do have those conversations. I've seen it for myself. I've stood there and watched it happen in front of me. Everybody's trying to play decent with each other for the most part. They might stab them in the back when they walk away, but when they're face to face, they're usually pretty cordial, and they will talk to each other. So if you're a problem in the scene, they're going to know it. And this guy I was just talking about is a well-documented problem in the scene because he thinks very highly of himself, and he thinks he knows the business better than everybody else. And even in spite of all that, his band has always been strong enough to where he can stay fairly close to home and make pretty decent money. So it's a bittersweet situation. He definitely is in the win column in the sense of, they make really good money and they're playing about as much as they want to play. They're pretty much playing places they want to play. They really don't have any desire. They chased the A rooms for, decades, and they're kind of over that now. And they'd rather play rooms they enjoy playing. And a lot of the B rooms are very enjoyable to play. And a lot of the B rooms, because they're at A band playing B rooms, the B rooms will treat them like gold. They'll roll out the red carpet, man, and feed them and give them, booze and the whole 9 yards, man, And their tip jar will blow up on top of being the best, band in the B circuit. Ain't nothing wrong with that. I'm not mad at the guy. Go do your thing, man. You do you, boo, is what I always say. You going out there and you make your band whatever you want your band to be. And that's really the whole overwhelming idea in this whole video is your band's going to be what you make it into be. Not what you want it to be, because you can dream to the stars, but what you actually make it to be, what you put to the ground, the amount of effort and everything that goes into actually getting your band where it needs to be, marketing wise. Your logo, your band logo should be very legible, and you should have a band banner that you can read a block down the street, sort of thing. I mean, all that kind of stuff is super, super huge, and trying to get it right. And then just getting out there in the trenches, man, and getting it done, putting your best foot forward. I always say you're always playing to the 3% of the audience that knows the difference between a good band and a bad band. Because I know a whole bunch of C-rated bands that are playing the right music, and when people get alcohol in them, they just think they're the greatest thing in the world, when really they're just a C band. Mixed a band not long ago that was all hyped up that ended up being a low B band. And it was crazy, dude. It was. I was like, wow, I can't believe these guys are as popular as they are. But they may put butts in seats, and they may be able to make some money. But the 3% that knows the difference between what is legit and what's not are really the ones that are guiding the ship. They're really the ones that are going to open the doors for your next level of success. They're the ones that are going to promote you. They're the sound guys that are going to rave on their social media platforms about, getting to work with you and enjoying working with you. And then, one hand feeds another in that scenario, And it's real easy to get a lot of momentum on social media when you're a band everyone enjoys working with, when you're a band that people love working with. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, so that's the best, 45 minute explanation I can give to you to make your band work, to make it the best it can possibly be. There's tons of other stuff that go into that, a bunch of little things. In fact, I'm going to touch on a bunch of those next week in the shorts. So make sure you tune in for that. But this is where we are, man. This is who we are. This is what we do. This is what we love to do. And again, if you're doing it just for the love of the music, that's how my band is, J3. We make pretty good money in our area because we're established musicians and most people know who we are. But, we're just a 3-piece classic rock band out here, trying to get it right, trying to treat people good. We try to get the marketing side of things correct. But we're also playing out once or twice a month, if that. In the summertime, we're not even doing that because of me, because of my production schedule. So yeah, have fun. How about that? How about we just try to have fun? How about we just love on each other? We support the other bands in the scene. When you get a night off, don't be that guy that sits on his couch. Get off your ass and go out and support one of your buddies' bands, or support another band. Go see the band that you're rivals with. Maybe you need to get out there and see what they're doing and learn something, Maybe there's something they're doing you're not doing that you can learn. I always say you can learn something from every band, even if it's how to not do something. Put your ego aside and get out there and support local live music. I love you guys. We'll see you next week. Bye.